Across China, half-finished skyscrapers have long stood as symbols of a collapsing property bubble. But now, something far more shocking has emerged. The same fate has reached China's oceans. In the heart of Hubei province lies the Huanghai shipyard, once a proud symbol of China's industrial might. It built massive vessels that could travel from rivers to seas, feeding Beijing's dream of becoming a maritime superpower. But today, the yard is silent, filled not with the roar of machinery, but with the eerie stillness of unfinished ships. Giant hulls, rusting under gray skies, now serve as tombstones of China's economic downfall. Local workers whisper that orders vanished overnight. Clients canceled contracts mid-construction as financing dried up and trade slowed. The shipyard, once employing thousands, is now a graveyard of steel and broken ambitions. Observers online say these haunting images appeared at a critical time, just as China's once booming shipbuilding industry faces its biggest storm in history. Because on October 14th, the United States struck another blow. Washington rolled out a new port fee policy, a move analysts are calling a second trade war at sea. Starting that day, every Chinese ship docking in U.S. ports must pay millions in new entry fees, up to $3 million for a single 100,000-ton vessel. The goal? To undercut China's dominance in global shipping and revive America's own shipyards. The numbers reveal why this hurts. China now builds one out of every 2 new ships in the world, outpacing Japan and South Korea in both price and delivery speed. A 10,000 TEU container ship built in China costs around $120 million compared to $160 million in South Korea, and China delivers it up to 6 months faster. But from October 14th onward, the U.S. made it clear. If your ship was built, owned, or operated by China, you pay. No exceptions, no loopholes. Failure to pay means you can't dock, load, or unload. Chinese state media quickly fired back, calling the move economic warfare. Yet even they admitted, retaliation options are limited. Few American ships enter Chinese ports, and the WTO process could drag on for years. The hardest hit will be China's state-owned giants like Costco and Orient Overseas, forced to pay millions each time they enter an American harbor. Shipbuilders, too, will suffer, because even a non-Chinese company sailing a ship built in China will be taxed. That could drive global buyers away from Chinese shipyards, freezing new contracts altogether. A Chinese commentator lamented, "This is not just about ships, it's about leverage. America has found a way to weaponize China's own success." Meanwhile, U.S. officials see it differently. They call it a strategic rebalancing. The fees collected will flow directly into the U.S. Treasury, funding a massive revival of the American shipbuilding sector, something both Republicans and Democrats agree on. The new law outlines a gradual hike. For Chinese-owned or operated ships, fees start at $80 per net ton in 2026 and climb to $140 by 2028. For foreign ships built in China, fees start at $23 per ton or $154 per container, rising to $33 per ton or $250 per container by 2028. One U.S. commentator joked online, "It's true, the policy discriminates, but it discriminates against the CCP, and that's exactly the point." For decades, Beijing used shipbuilding to project power and profit. Now the tide has turned. Those unfinished ships in Hubei, frozen in time, may soon become the perfect symbol of what happens when an empire built on debt finally runs aground. The silent war on the seas, how Trump's new strategy targets China's floating empire. For years, the world watched China's ghost cities rise. Endless towers left unfinished. But now, a new ghost story is unfolding on the ocean. The world's biggest shipbuilding empire, China's pride, is starting to crack. After facing backlash from global shipping companies, the U.S. quietly adjusted its controversial new port fee policy. Some American firms with deep links to China were quietly exempted, and liquefied natural gas carriers were granted a grace period. But Washington didn't back down. Instead, it widened the net. Now, nearly every foreign-built vehicle carrier not flying the U.S. flag falls under the new rules. The target was clear: China's maritime dominance. According to data from Alpha Liner, China's shipping giant COSCO Group, together with its subsidiary Orient Overseas, faces a staggering $1.5 billion in extra costs next year. That's nearly half of all fees paid by the world's 10 biggest shipping companies. Even global players like France's CMA CGM are now scrambling to reroute or retire their China-built ships to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. This isn't just a trade dispute, it's the beginning of a silent war on the seas. From 5% to half the ocean. How China took over the waves. In 1999, China's shipyards barely existed, holding less than 5% of the global market. By 2023, they had conquered more than 50%. It's not just about ships, it's an entire ecosystem. China now produces 95% of the world's container ships, and one single Chinese shipyard can outbuild all U.S. shipyards combined. Last year, America built fewer than 10 commercial vessels, while China rolled out over 1,000. The numbers are staggering. 34% of all ships currently sailing were made in China. 57% of all ships under construction are being built in Chinese shipyards. Even the most ordinary goods, bicycles, sofas, toys, and cars, are often carried across oceans on Chinese-made ships. At its peak, U.S. shipbuilding once ruled the world. During World War II, America built over 2,700 Liberty ships, fueling the Allied victory. But as the decades passed, the torch was passed. First to Japan in the 1970s, then South Korea in the 1980s, and finally to China in the 2000s. After China joined the WTO, its shipyards exploded in size, backed by state banks and massive subsidies. Between 2010 and 2018, Beijing poured $132 billion into its shipbuilding industry, not counting hidden subsidies, low-interest loans, and debt relief. It was an ocean of government money fueling steel, power, and ambition. A container ship built in China costs $55 million. The same ship built in the United States? $330 million. Between 2020 and 2022, China had over 4,000 large vessels on order. The U.S.? Just 12. By 2024, America accounted for 0.01% of global shipbuilding. Essentially, nothing. A report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, revealed a chilling fact. One single Chinese state-owned shipbuilding company will produce more commercial tonnage in 2024 than the entire U.S. shipbuilding industry has built since World War II. Trump's counterattack, turning the tide. When Trump returned to the White House, he didn't just want to make America great again. He wanted to reclaim the oceans. He pushed to rebuild America's manufacturing base, starting with shipbuilding, an industry long abandoned to Asia. Trump's new strategy combines tariffs, port fees, and alliances. His administration is quietly working with Japan and South Korea, both of which still have the industrial capacity to compete with China. Japan's Shipowners Association has already announced that new orders with Chinese shipyards are being reconsidered. Tokyo even proposed a $7 billion revival fund to bring its once mighty shipyards back to life. It's a regional alliance, an economic fleet, preparing to confront China at sea. Experts warn that this isn't just about trade, it's about national security. Bradley Martin of the Rand Corporation explained it bluntly. Every foreign contract with a Chinese shipyard indirectly supports China's military shipbuilding. Civilian projects, resources, and technology inevitably feed into the PLA Navy. He warned that even Taiwanese companies doing business with Chinese shipyards are unintentionally strengthening the military of the country that threatens them. The numbers are alarming. China's Navy now has 370 warships, expected to reach 435 by 2030. The U.S. Navy, by comparison, maintains 292 ships, with growth remaining flat. But experts insist quality still matters more than quantity. China's mass production advantage doesn't automatically translate to naval superiority. Many of its vessels remain untested, while the U.S. retains advanced shipyards dedicated to military projects, untouched by the commercial decline. One analyst put it this way: China may build faster, but America builds smarter. Trump's new maritime strategy has shaken China's industrial core. And this time, it's not about tariffs or tech bans. It's about control of the sea. where economic dominance meets military power. From the rusting skeletons of abandoned ships in Hubei to the silent halls of U.S. shipyards waiting to awaken, one thing is clear: the new global conflict won't begin with missiles. It will begin with ships. America's masterstroke, economic war. Through the sea. The Biden-Trump bipartisan maritime strategy, though controversial, is no coincidence. It's part of a long game designed to cut off China's strongest remaining economic lifeline, shipbuilding. China's economy is collapsing under debt. Real estate has imploded. Car manufacturing is sinking. Shipbuilding was one of the last engines still running, and Washington knew it. By hitting the maritime sector with port fees, sanctions, and trade barriers, the U.S. is striking at the heart of Beijing's industrial machine. Because shipping isn't just about cargo, it's about control. Every Chinese ship that sails the Pacific represents production, export, and military potential. And shipbuilding sits at the center of a vast ecosystem, from steel and electronics to precision machinery, non-ferrous metals, and advanced navigation systems. Cripple that one pillar, and the entire web starts to shake.
I knew housing in Hegang was cheap, but I didn't expect it to be this cheap. Houses there aren't priced at 10 or 20,000 yuan per square meter. That's the total price of the entire apartment. Some new buildings cost only 15,300 yuan in total, which means about 153 yuan per square meter. Have you ever heard of such prices? I was completely shocked. Property prices in northeast China have dropped to just 153 yuan per square meter. Can you believe it? You heard that right. Today, let's take a look at a brand new apartment selling for just over 10,000 yuan. The total price? Around 12,000 yuan for a 65 square meter unit. As you walk in, there's the kitchen on one side, a spacious living room, a south-facing bedroom, and a bathroom. A one-bedroom, one living room, one bathroom apartment. The whole place costs only 10,000 yuan. It's unbelievable. Are houses really worth so little now? This is literally a cabbage price home. Unbelievably cheap. When housing prices reach this level, ordinary people might finally be able to live in peace and stability. But this isn't just happening in Hegang. Following the collapse there, similar cabbage price apartments have appeared in Jixi, Heilongjiang province, with homes selling for just 10,000 yuan per unit. Reports say that such low prices are now spreading across many parts of China. In Baoshan district, Shuangyashan city, for example, some apartments cost as little as 9,000 yuan. These are top-floor units around 60 square meters, with 2 bedrooms and a living room, complete with heating for winter and nearby facilities like restaurants, clinics, supermarkets, and bus stops. Even in Anshan, Liaoning province, videos show local bloggers visiting housing projects where apartments cost only 10,000 yuan each. Inside, the layout includes a small entry area, kitchen, and a large master bedroom, all for less than the price of a smartphone. Depending on the floor, the cost ranges from 10,000 yuan for the top floor to around 20,000 yuan for lower floors. Schools and supermarkets are nearby. Nothing is missing. Local residents explain that there are simply too many buildings and too few people. In Shuangyashan, some homes sell for less than 10,000 yuan, even as low as 9,000 yuan, when owners are desperate to sell. Renting is equally cheap. 1 year costs only 2,500 yuan. With local salaries of around 2,000 yuan a month, people say they can live comfortably, eat well, and still feel a high sense of happiness. In Daking, a 50 square meter 2-bedroom apartment can be bought for just over 10,000 yuan in total. The layout is decent, with front and back balconies and good sunlight. Homes that once cost over 1 million yuan are now selling for 1 or 2% of their former price. It's a crash no one could have imagined. One man said his friend bought a home in 2018 for 3 million yuan. Its value dropped to 2 million, then 1.5 million, and now it's below 1 million. A loss of over 2 million yuan in just 5 years. Everything he earned from his business is now gone. Real estate in China has completely collapsed. Housing bureaus are empty. No one wants to buy anymore. Prices are plummeting too fast, and people simply can't take it. Once, people stood in line to buy houses. Now, they're lining up to sell them. When Suzhou lifted its sales restrictions, over 1,000 to 2,000 new listings appeared in a single day. The era of China's housing boom is truly over. Look at this. Suzhou now has over 179,000 unsold housing units, and the number is still climbing. Refresh the page, and it jumps again. 179,957 units. All of these listings were just released today, and soon the number will break 180,000. It's unbelievable. Even with over 3,000 households sharing one available buyer, no one is purchasing. Everything on the market is now ready-built stock. You can buy a fully furnished one-bedroom apartment with a 70-year property right for 300,000 yuan, ready to move in immediately. The Chinese housing market is collapsing at a shocking pace. In Shanghai, some homes no longer even require a down payment. Properties once worth 3 to 4 million yuan now struggle to sell for 500,000, and one unit near Metro Line 9 that cost 700,000 yuan a few years ago has fallen to just 280,000. In Guangzhou, homes once priced at 2.9 million yuan now go for 1.5 million. Across the country, it's normal for property values to drop by half, returning to 2015 levels. And some even expect a fall back to 2006 prices. Owners who once refused to sell at 600,000 yuan now regret it as their homes sink to 400,000. In cities like Huzhou, ghost buildings stand silent and abandoned, with prices sliding from 12,000 yuan per square meter earlier this year to 8,000, and still no buyers. Whether a house is new or old no longer matters. No one is buying or renting. Sellers are trapped between collapsing prices and rising despair. Meanwhile, new super-cheap homes keep emerging. In Shaohengshan, Heilongjiang, a 65-square-meter apartment with floor heating sells for just 14,800 yuan, not as a deposit, but the entire price. A two-bedroom unit costs 5,000 yuan, and a three-bedroom one just over 10,000. With parks, shops, and hospitals nearby, it's hard to believe. But this is today's China. Once luxury assets, China's homes are now cheaper than used cars. Giants like Evergrande and Country Garden have fallen, leaving ordinary buyers to bear the losses. The dream that property would never lose value has collapsed after the pandemic. Even coastal treasures have lost half their worth as the economy slows, jobs vanish, and savings shrink. Across 95 cities, from Beijing's outskirts to Chengdu and the Pearl River Delta, homes now sell for the price of a second-hand car. In Zhangjiakou, a two-bedroom apartment costs just 60,000 yuan. With a shrinking and aging population, China's once glorious housing market is turning to dust. Even prosperous cities like Hangzhou are suffering. A homeowner in Weilai Technology City said she bought her apartment in 2019 for 6 million yuan. Today, it can barely sell for 4 million, and that's considered a good deal. She was stunned, saying she once viewed property as a safe investment to pass down to her children. Now she wishes she could cut her hand off instead. In the end, none of the stimulus tools used over the past 3 years have worked. The real problem is simple. Prices were too high. Once they fall, no policy can stop the collapse. Developers still dream of high prices, high volume, and high profits. But that era is over. China's real estate market once swallowed up 50 years of the nation's wealth, creating a short-lived boom lasting just over a decade and minting a handful of super-rich developers. But when the tide receded, most homeowners, burdened with mortgages, were left struggling for the rest of their lives. What was once a grain of dust in the grand scheme of history has become a mountain crushing ordinary citizens. This is Evergrande's 160 billion yuan artificial island project. now abandoned and eerily empty. Shops remain open, but there are no people. I went to Island Number 1, planning to browse some clothes at the outlet mall. But as I walked in, I realized the place felt frozen in time, like someone pressed a pause button. If those few stores weren't open, I wouldn't have dared to step inside. Now I understand why Ocean View apartments here can be rented for just a few hundred yuan a month. Because no one lives here. Look, some homes are so worthless now that even if you gave them away for free, no one would take them. Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Zhang from Shandong, a real estate agent working in Taikang, Jiangsu. These days, many people say, even if houses get cheaper, don't buy them. Why? Because prices are expected to drop another 50% within 2 years, and might keep falling until homes are practically worthless. Across China, there are at least 600 million housing units, enough for 1.4 billion people to live comfortably. Some say even for 7 billion. 6 years ago, people were lining up to buy houses. Now, they're lining up to sell them. Back then, buyers chased after homes, willing to pay extra just to secure one. Today, it's the sellers chasing after buyers, slashing prices to the bone, and buyers still say, let's wait a bit longer. 6 years ago, people bought homes to earn more. Now they sell to lose less. The wheel of fortune turns, and heaven spares no one. House prices have collapsed like a deflated balloon, dropping endlessly. Those who didn't buy homes years ago now feel lucky, while those who scraped together every penny to purchase one are left crushed by debt and regret. Once, buying property meant security. Now it means humiliation. People whisper behind your back, calling you foolish for buying at the peak. The 10,000 yuan houses across northeast China reveal the devastating aftermath of the real estate collapse. Even in the powerhouse province of Guangdong, 5 cities, Shanwei, Heshan, Jieyang, Heiyuan, and Qingyuan, have already turned into Hegang, a phrase now used to describe cities where housing prices have crashed to rock bottom. As netizens say, property is usually a family's largest asset, and once it loses market value, that family's wealth effectively drops to zero. Analysts warn that in the near future, 3rd and 4th tier cities, especially those with weaker economies, will see unsold homes, even at a few thousand or a few hundred yuan, and soon, not even free houses will find takers. China's real estate dream has ended, and what remains is a haunting silence, echoing through the empty towers that once symbolized prosperity.